I'm Eliza, and this is Moving Pictures. Today we'll be running through the movies coming to theaters in the next month. Here's the list for November of 2017. November 3rd, Thor Ragnarok. The third installment for Thor and his adventures is finally here. The mighty Thor has found himself imprisoned on a distant planet and is being forced into gladiatorial combat against who else but the Hulk. He must find a way for himself and his friend to survive so they can return to Asgard and prevent Hela from destroying all Thor holds dear. Starring Chris Hemsworth, Cate Blanchett, Tom Hiddleston, and Mark Ruffalo. Roman J. Israel Esquire. Roman is an introvert and an impressive attorney who works largely behind the scenes. He's more comfortable there. When things change, though, and this idealist ends up in a cutthroat firm with a completely ruthless lawyer, he stumbles upon a case that will test everything he knows. Starring Denzel Washington, Colin Farrell, and Carmen Ejago. Last Flag Flying. Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston, and Lawrence Fishburne star in this drama comedy as three Vietnam vets who served together. They reunite when Steve Carell's son is killed in action in Iraq and he has decided to bring his son home to bury him with the family. Follow the three men on their road trip as they return the fallen son home, as they reminisce and come to terms with their past and their lives that they have led. Lady Bird. This drama comedy follows a California nurse as she tries to keep her family above water when she becomes the sole earner after her husband loses his job. She also must find a way to maintain the rocky bond between her and her teenage daughter, who is perhaps a little too much like her. Starring Saoirse Ronan, Lucas Hedges, Laurie Metcalf, and Tracy Letts. Blade of the Immortal. Cursed with immortality, Manji, a very skilled samurai, must fight against evil in order to regain his soul. He is haunted by the horrendous murder of his sister and has promised to help a young girl, Rin, who wants to avenge the murder of her parents at the hands of master swordsmen. This mission could change Manji forever. Starring Takuya Kimura, Hana Suzukai, and Sota Fukusuki. This is the 100th film directed by Takashi Miike. LBJ. This biographical movie takes us on a journey through the life of the 36th President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson, from his life in Texas to his life in the White House, starring Jennifer Jason Leigh, Woody Harrelson, and Bill Pullman. The Man Who Invented Christmas. This drama biography is based on the true story as to how Charles Dickens took real-life inspiration to formulate his characters for A Christmas Carol. From who may inspired Ebenezer Scrooge even to Tiny Tim, watch how the tale was formulated and came to fruition. Starring Dan Stevens as the author along with Christopher Plummer, Jonathan Pryce, and Miriam Margolyes. November 10th, Murder on the Orient Express. Based on the classic novel by Agatha Christie, a murder has happened on a moving train, and the mystery must be solved before the murderer strikes again. There are 13 strangers stranded on the train. Are they all suspects? And there's one man on the train capable of solving this. He must do it before the train reaches its destination. Kenneth Branagh directs as well as stars as Detective Hercule Poirot, alongside Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Daddy's Home 2. Brad and Dusty, Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, have put their differences behind them, finding common ground after the events of Daddy's Home. So, what's going on now? This time, they have to deal with their own dads as they come to visit for Christmas. Brad's father, John Lithgow, is intrusive and overbearing, while Dusty's, Mel Gibson, is rude and abrasive. So what better time to visit? It'll be fun for the whole family, as long as everyone survives, that is. 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. When the murder of Mildred's daughter fails to be solved, she shows her frustration by painting direct challenges to local police on 3 signs leading into town. When members of the law enforcement retaliate, Ebbing, Missouri faces a battle between Mildred and local law enforcement in this dark comedy drama by director of In Bruges, Martin McDonagh, starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. November 17th. Justice League. The next film in the DC lineup, Bruce Wayne has regained his faith in humanity thanks to Superman, and has gathered together the superheroes that have surfaced around him. Together, they will face off against Steppenwolf and Darkseid, who threaten the world as we know it. Starring Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Jason Momoa. Wonder. Based on the novel of the same name, we follow the journey of a young boy with facial differences who is entering school for the first time. Homeschooled until grade 5, his parents finally take him to join a mainstream school. To hide his differences, he wears an astronaut's helmet as he tries to navigate his new world. Starring Julia Roberts, Jacob Tremblay, and Crystal Lowe. The Star. A young donkey yearns for a better life. One where he can make use of his bravery and sense of adventure, one far from the dull life he lives on the village mill. One day he makes his escape to follow his dreams. He befriends a sheep, a dove, and 3 camels along his way. Together they follow a star that leads them to become accidental heroes to the first Christmas. Starring Zachary Levi, Gina Rodriguez, and Christian Chenoweth. I Love You, Daddy. This comedy takes aim at an interesting topic when the daughter of a successful television writer finds herself the focus of a filmmaker in the silver age of his life. Her father finds himself concerned about the older man's attentions and struggles to figure out how to handle the situation. Directed by and starring Louis C.K., as well as starring Pamela Alden, George Alloy, and Rose Byrne. November 24th. Coco. Miguel's family does not allow music. It's banned, in fact. But Miguel dreams of being a musician anyway, and desperate to prove himself and his skills, he somehow finds a way into the land of the dead. There, he meets a trickster named Hector, who teams up with him, and together, they will work to discover the true reason Miguel's family banned music all those years ago. Starring Edward James Olmos, Alana Ubach, and Gael Garcia Bernal. Darkest Hour. Winston Churchill has taken place as Prime Minister, and England, as well as Europe, is in the early days of the Second Great War. We are approaching our darkest hour, and he must decide if there will be negotiating with Hitler, or if we shall never surrender. Starring Lily James, Gary Oldman, and Ben Mendelsohn. Death Wish. After an act of violence, a man's life is torn apart, his family destroyed. He reacts with violence of his own, a father seeking vengeance for what was done to him and his family. Retribution. Starring Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Elizabeth Shue. The Current War. The battle between Edison and Westinghouse was cutthroat, neither man willing to back down. This is the biographical and dramatic story of how the race unfolded and whose electrical system survived, starring Tom Holland, Catherine Watterson, and Benedict Cumberbatch. Call Me by Your Name. While studying in Italy with his father, an American professor, a young man falls in love with an Italian graduate student. They share in life, love, and the world around them, learning about romance, music, and the food in the summer that they have together. Starring Armie Hammer, Timothy Chalamet, and Michael Stolberg. Any films you're really looking forward to? Let us know in the comments. If you want to know more about any of these films, you can find a link to the trailer in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content.